What's up, guys? Subs Eric here, back for another VOD review. Today, we're doing a YBY1 VOD review, YBY1 rank 1 on the Vietnamese server. If you guys haven't heard me yap about this guy before, he's one of my favorite players in the world to watch, and he is team plannering out an entire, if you guys just saw it there, he did get one Morgana drop and some other Bastion drops here, so we did team planner out the entire Morgana reroll comp. That's not going to be what we actually watch YBY1 play today, but a sign of a good player that he knows that that comp is absolutely broken. If you guys didn't watch my last VOD review, man, that comp looks good. But okay, first augment here. We got Bruiser +1, 2, the one that gives you the 2-star, 2 cost, and some gold, and then Pilfer. These days, I'm not the biggest fan of Pilfer. I mean, I think you roll this down. Worst case, you can take the 2 cost augment and just have like a strong econ opener. As far as item slams, we have a Gunblade. If we wanted to play towards Morgana, we certainly could. We'd love direction into Morgana here, honestly, though, spoiler alert, I don't think we're gonna get it. I don't think you want to take Bruiser +1 as your first augment here, though, so we roll over that. Hit Vanguard +1, also not something that I'm too excited to take. I mean, it's okay. We did just check our I think we had Pulse Stabilizer as our first EXO there, which not amazing for this. Yes, so Pulse Stabilizer plus the purple tanky one. I will say, like, when you are looking at these augments, you should be thinking about it. Pulse Stabilizer, the red and the yellow ones, you're going to play into like a Zeri type MF type situation. And the other damage ones, the Hollow Bow and the other one, you should be thinking about playing into a Vexotech setup. So this leans us more towards the Zeri setup if we did want to play Exotech, if we want to go down that route. So something to note here. Roll here, yeah, we hit Techie, which, bleh, I mean, they did buff Techie a little bit, but I don't love it. And lastly, we hit Flatline here. Flatline, I think, is probably the most acceptable out of all of these. I think we did sell our Kindred off, so we no longer, we don't have any of the Marksman. I don't love Flatline in current patch because I do think there are a lot of people who angle Vanguard Marksman, and it's really, really scary. Now, this is an NA phenomenon, so maybe on the Vietnamese server, which he's playing on right now, maybe it's more okay, but on NA, there's like guaranteed 2 Vanguard Marksman players per lobby, and if you take this and you're the third one, especially if those other guys take econ augments, you feel horrible. So yeah, I don't like Flatline as a first pick here. We roll the other one, we hit the dupes. I mean, maybe we're just gonna, I think what you should do here is do a scout of the lobby, and he does. I'm actually gonna bring the playback speed down a little bit so we can see what we're scouting here, because I think what you do in this spot, and this is very applicable to your games if you're watching, trying to learn here, and it looks like this is another augment at stage 3, is my brain translating what I can read in Vietnamese. But we should scout the lobby here, see how many people are potentially angling Vanguard Marksman, and if it's actually very low, we could actually just take the flatline and have that direction. So this guy, I mean, he has a Kog'Maw who's a great item holder for it. Not amazing items for Vanguard Marksman. Could be, honestly. Clear Mind player, probably angling, I would guess, into a Vexotech setup here with the Morgana opener, I would think, and I mean all of these AP items, yeah, I imagine. This person ends up getting the Dynamo +1, so we don't have to worry about them contesting. This person's playing AMP. This person is playing Vanguard Marksman for sure, so that's already like 1 strike here. And then if there's another person who I think at all is likely to play Vanguard Marksman, then I would just take middle augment here. And this person, I mean, I don't love Street Demons as much these days. This person, worth the wait. That was Alistar, looks like, and this guy's Bastion. So probably 1 Vanguard Marksman player. So the question is, do we think there will be another one? If so, we definitely don't take Flatline, and if not, then we do take it. Looks like he is still afraid that someone else is potentially going to angle Vanguard Marksman. There's, the person who had the Street Demons on their board. They could, they had Bow, Sword, Belt, I think, as their component, so they very easily could just still play Vanguard Marksman. People Street Demon these days, it's like kind of whatever. So we are going to make the Crown Guard slam, or make the Crown Guard, take Crown Guarded here, which is a fantastic kind of generic augment. You can play that into anything. And we're going to slam the Gunblade onto the Morgana. I will say, this Morgana unit does hold a Gunblade so nicely. So even though Gunblade, I think, in just modern TFT is not an amazing slam, like you're usually not very excited to just straight up slam a Gunblade, just because Gunblade is an item that scales off the amount of damage you're doing, and a unit without any items besides the Gunblade is usually not doing very much damage. And it also scales with like the resists of your front line, which, you haven't had time to build stuff like Gargoyles, do stuff like, play more Bastions onto your board. So I tend to not like Gunblade as an early slam, but this Morgana unit kind of makes it all good. Units that do damage over time are really, really nice with stuff like Gunblade because it's doing very consistent damage, which means that you're always getting value out of Gunblade. A unit that does high burst damage, not as good with Gunblade because some of your units might die while you're waiting for that burst to happen, and by the time the burst happens, maybe you end up overhealing people. Yeah, it's just usually damage over time very good with stuff like Gunblade. That's why the interaction, why it's so good onto the Morgue. But all right, win the first couple of rounds, and honestly, the world is YBY1's oyster in this spot, which, I mean, oftentimes you would think of that as being a good thing, but in modern TFT, that also scares me a little bit. YBY1, I don't think should be scared at all, and looks like he's team plannering out, the idea being that we're going to play. I mean, we could very easily, I don't know what we're actually, I don't know what's going, he's putting in a trait tracker board, I guess, in case he ends up in trait tracker. But I would think the most obvious line from this spot would be Vexotech here. The only problem is our Exotech items don't really love it. So yeah, I mean, that's where I would want to go from this spot, but I don't think you're actually that excited for it. You take bow here. Okay, so we'll see where we go with this board, because I think it's so interesting to navigate lines like this that are non-standard. And I mean, this, I will say, you know, the first few patches of this set were a little bit rough in terms of flexibility, in terms of having a lot of 4-cost options. You know, you would just default to some of the broken options. But this patch does a really good job of, you can basically pilot any 4-cost option to a top 4. So when you're in a spot like this, very open, you have the Gunblade plus the bow here. You could play anything from this spot here, really. I do think it is pretty reasonable to just keep your options open, see what we get draw from Krug, see what our second augment is, and then, you know, if we end up in a spot where we high roll, you know, some Vexes, we can play Vexotech. If we, you know, high roll some Aphelioses, this can be a Gunblade onto Aphelios. I would say those are like the main lines I'm looking at here, or maybe a Gunblade onto Zeri as well for the Zeri Exotech board, which makes sense as well. You know, Gunblade Zeri, then play Zeri Misfortune. I think that's another solid line as well. So yeah, we have a lot of options here. I don't really love Gunblade in like Street Demons with like Brand, and also I just don't love the Street Demons comp after it's been nerfed a little bit. But yeah, I'm actually a little bit surprised we're not going to sell the Shyvana here on bench for 20 gold. He really values it as his next in, just because of the traits on this this Shiv unit. Getting both Bastion and Techie onto the board is really nice. So yeah, he says, you know what, I'll pay a gold to hold in the Shyvana. The Shyvana doesn't cost 2 gold, it costs 3, but that's fine because I would pay 3 gold to buy a Shyvana from my shop because it's my next in. So good discipline from YBY1 there to say, you know what, I am actually going to lose a little bit of gold to hold on to a unit that actually makes sense here. And he gets another option to do something similar here. I actually would be tempted to sell Varus here. Yeah, I think that is the right call. Even though he might end up on our board, I mean, with these items, I think we're leaning more into an AD option, but he has to do a lot of scouting there. Yeah, we actually see, so there's a few people who are, there's the Vanguard +1 player who's going to angle Vanguard Marksman, very likely, I would think. Their items also, they have the Gwinsu, so I think that makes a lot of sense. And then it looks like somebody else, yeah, took the Vanguard augment here, the reactive shell, or what's it called? This person also probably wants to angle Vanguard Marksman, though their items aren't amazing for it. I don't know, they have like IE, or it could be like Last Whisper, probably like Even Shroud IE type stuff, eventually go into like Shojin for Xayah, which is like whatever. It could also be like tank item perhaps, yeah, like IE, Even Shroud, Gwinsu, yeah, that's what I would be looking at for them. So there's actually 2 people angling Vanguard Marksman here. So our game's going to get a bit interesting. I think the most straightforward line is this Exotech MF plus Zeri line, but we'll see how highly YBY1 rates the line. He does make the IE slam here, which I think it's almost mandatory in a spot like this, because we want to keep the bow open for Gwinsu's Rage Blade in either AD line. If we're playing Zeri, you need a Gwinsu, and if you're playing Aphelios, you need a Gwinsu. So either way, we need to keep this bow open. IE is good onto Misfortune or onto the Xayah. The really nice thing about those 2 lines is you can flex them so easily. And we do get an option at a little buddies here. I think it's pretty solid in both lines. In both lines, you're playing a decent number of lower cost units. Obviously, like the little Exotech units, like the Jin and in the Jax in the Exotech line, and then in the Vanguard Marksman line, you know, you are oftentimes still playing stuff like Jin. You can even fit like Kindred in, even though like a worse unit than the Jinx, but I mean, it's little buddies value, and then obviously you have Silas on the board as well, and then oftentimes Ross as well. So a lot of little buddies value in both lines. The only downside to it is that it is not a win streak augment at all in our spot here, which you'd love some kind of combat strength augment here, but we are going to take this here, and yeah, we're just going to say, okay, this is going to be our board, and hopefully we can keep winning. I mean, our only like more win streaky augment that we could take here is the cybernetic implants, but implants not very good in, I would say, the the Vanguard Marksman comp, because you're already getting so much AD. You don't really need the extra AD from that. You want to, as always, talk about multiply stats onto each other, multiply different stats. But we also might even keep our streak here, rotating into the Clear Mind player, who looks really, really weak. Though, actually, maybe I shouldn't have spoke too soon. The Yuumi is doing good work. We actually do lose. I mean, it is actually a double Yuumi setup, and the double Yuumis do proc their abilities off of each other. So, yeah, we actually do get kind of wrecked by the double Yuumi. Kind of a hilarious little interaction there where they want to play 2 Yuumis for clear mind value, and we actually get wrecked by it. But yeah, I mean, whoa, actually, wait. Okay, so this person is certainly Vanguard Marksman, but what is the other person that we just saw here? This person has Vanguard, 4 Vanguard in with the reactive, I keep thinking it's called reactive shell. Is that what it's called? But their items blue buff Nashers here. I mean, these are like Annie items, but how would you play Vanguard Annie? I mean, the upside to this, and this is the power of doing all this really frequent scouting, is that we see that this person has slammed AP items, so they are very unlikely to, I mean, contest us in Vanguard Marksman. I don't really see how they could possibly do it. The only downside is they are still going to steal our Vanguards. If we do play Vanguard Marksman, they're going to be taking, you know, Leonas out of the pool. They're going to be taking Jarvans out of the pool, so we still have to be worried about that, but I mean, this makes it a little bit more acceptable for us to play that line in Morg. This Morg unit with a Gunblade and an IE does 5,000 damage. I mean, it's so gross. We are last pick on Carousel here, which is, I mean, it's better on this Carousel because you actually get more options than a traditional Carousel, so we feel okay about that. Xayah gets pulled immediately. We do still want that Rod, yep, to make the Guinsoo's Rage Blade. Once again, in both lines, you can flex this Guinsoo's. I love the fact that there is this just kind of like AD flex line that exists now, where you can play Guinsoo onto Zeri or onto Aphelios, and you can play IE and those more like caster type items onto the Xayah or onto the Misfortune. So it's such a cool little flexible line. I would also say that we are probably leaning more towards the Exotech version of the line because we obviously have a lot of these Exotech units already. We have already the Mordekaiser, we already have the Jin pair and stuff like that. So I would say that's what we're leaning towards, but you can see actually we are holding a Silas on bench, right? Is that it's a true statement? Yep, we have Silas over there on the right side on bench. There's our extra augment here. By the way, I mean, item grab bag seems quite solid here. I think you can just default to that. I don't think we're looking at bulk here. He's looking at actually the overheal augment, which, I mean, it's good on units that auto attack a lot. And you are getting more physical damage, but yeah, I mean, it's bulk. It's bulk 7 days of the week. We actually hit another Rod. It's actually not too bad because that could end up being like a Morello. We could also make another Crown Guard actually as well for the double Crown Guarded value. I mean, I wouldn't hate it either. I mean, yeah, I could see it, double Crown Guarded value. He's actually, ooh, Sunfire double Guinsoo is not the slam I expected to see here. So double Guinsoo, I mean, it works in both comps. We make usage of our Rod. The only downside is we are now, I mean, we've burned all of our components, so we have no way of getting to Armor Shred immediately, but, you know, we still got more items coming. So, I mean, yeah, I kind of like it a lot in hindsight. In both boards, you can use the double Guinsoo, so it makes sense. We're not rich. We're not super poor in this spot either. 48 here. We can look at a 4-2 level. Yeah, we do want to just keep scouting the entire lobby. See if anyone is playing that Zeri MF setup, because I don't recall seeing anybody angling into it, but I mean, we will see what happens. Yep, we can sell that off here. We do get actually some pretty good stuff as far as getting the Armor Shred. If we want it, we can make Adaptive Helm and then go for Last Whisper and just be boom, like in a really good spot item wise. Makes the most sense to me. I mean, outside of that, you could go something like a Hodge if you really want to. And yeah, we're gonna move some items around, put these items onto Vex, gonna make the Adaptive Helm, yep, the last second. And yeah, we're gonna itemize Vex here. I mean, she gets good value. We want to put the 4-cross onto our board because they're getting good value out of the little buddies here. Also, this person is playing Zeri actually with the Dynamo +1. They are going to play the Zeri MF setup with free Dynamo +1. That makes sense. So we're kind of completely open in some ways. Like we can play the Vanguard Marksman or we can play the Zeri comp. It's really just up to what we hit. And I mean, so far we've hit a Sejuani that I would say leans us more towards the Zeri line, but we'll see. I don't think you want pair of 4s because in both comps you're playing multiple 4-cost, like 3 4-costs usually, so I don't think you can take that. I do think it's like fine enough to take this one that gives you the extra resists. When looking at our augments so far, we already have 2 kind of defensive augments, so you kind of like combat, like offensive combat stats here, but I mean, we're double Guinsoo setup. You wouldn't like hate it to get some extra stuff here. Greater Moonlight. I mean, it looks like he's just thinking, ooh, I was not really expecting the healing orbs here, but we grab healing orbs here as last augment, just saying, we need to play for longer fights, and healing up our front line is going to allow us to play for those longer fights. So yeah, makes sense. Okay, so yeah, I love this from YBY1, and this is actually a little wild, but I think it makes a lot of sense. We're not that rich here. We can level over 32 gold, and then we have barely anything to roll left. So it's not actually going to be a 4-2. Wow. I think that this is really worth noting. In modern TFT, I feel like nobody is waiting until 4-5 to roll. Everybody's like, I got to be rolling at 4-2. I got to make sure that I'm hitting before everybody else. But he's actually saying, you know what? I want to just wait and see what is going on in the rest of the lobby. We're going to scout this player here. This is the Vanguard Marksman player. They actually hit onto a Zeri and an MF, so they almost might be playing Vanguard. I mean, you could play Vanguard +1 into this setup, which would mean Vanguard Marksman would be completely uncontested. I mean, look what they're holding on bench. It's a lot of stuff towards this line. I mean, they're flexing both lines as well. This person we don't really have to worry about. And then we have to scout this player as well with the Dynamo +1, who ends up, just going for Morgana 3, and it's a Morgana Vanguard. So the opposite is a reroll, actually. Morgana Vanguard's reroll. This is kind of woke. I want to see how this player, the little Sharkle, one ends up going. This person also has an MF onto their board, and I'm pretty sure the person that we scattered right before this is the person with the Dynamo +1 who is also... So there's 3 people who look like they're playing Zeri plus MF, which means I think we are very likely to play Vanguard Marksman from here. And the nice thing is that all these other people who are really like feel I gotta 4-2 it because I need to hit before everybody else, those players are all... I mean, they've probably rolled a huge amount of their gold. I didn't scout every single like gold amount that they had. But if these players have rolled out their gold, then that means we get to kind of coast to 4-2 here without worrying too much about them rolling down and like full pivoting their boards. Like, look at that guy. I mean, that guy was Shaco reroll, but they were 0 gold, so we don't have to worry about that. And yeah, it is going to be a 4-5. And I mean, just doing a lot. And yeah, look at all the gold amounts on the right side. It's 0, 0, 0 everywhere. Nobody has any gold. So... I mean, patience from YBY1 is actually allow him to potentially, we'll see. There could also be a world where we just hit. I mean, we have Sejuani pair here. If you hit a random Sedge too, we could even just say, I know that all of this stuff is going on, like there are all these people playing this contested line, but we could still actually pivot into it. But it looks like, yeah, I think we're going to team planar out the Vanguard Marksman board at 4-2. Did he throw an Annie into planar there just to keep the option open? I mean, that's kind of whoosh, but all right. We want Last Whisper here to get to Armor Shred. I believe it is on his Zac, which, okay, I mean, we're never getting bow onto Zac, man. Okay, and yeah, we don't end up getting it. I mean, you could still take like Cloak here. We're gonna take Glove, interestingly enough, for like a TG. I'm so afraid of not having Armor Shred here, but okay. We're gonna level, and the roll that happens now, I'm actually down to bring this down to 1x speed here because, I mean, there's a lot, right? There's a lot of stuff that we can pick up. We find the Jarvan here, find another Vex here. There's a Leona. That's good direction into this comp. There's a Kindred. There's a Jarvan as well. Need to sell off the Garen. Still not going to buy this Gragas too. Another Jinx is pretty good. Sees a Zeri, but yeah, he's going to completely skip the Zeri. He says, you know what? That line is just too contested. I cannot play it from this spot. And look what's so uncontested in this spot. Vanguard Marksman. Ooh, look at that swap, actually. We get everything in there. That's the APM. That's the young man's APM from YBY1. That's why this guy is so good. Isn't this guy like, I don't know, he's like 20 or something like that, right? It's like that's the young APM. I can't do that because I'm too old. That's why I play TFT. But we managed to get all of our units in. Our items end up a tad awkward. I would have imagined the Gunblade was supposed to go onto the Aphelios, but I mean, we have removers if we want to move it over. And yep, we're just going to continue to roll down here. Now it's a lot more straightforward that we've gotten to the board. We hit a lot of stuff here. We hit Aphelios too, and yep, the Gunblade is going to get moved over with the double Gwinsu. I get moved over to Zaya, and boom, we are in business here. I mean, what a cool way, just flex good TFT was played this game. And now we've landed on the board, 45 HP. We are pretty low. I would say that like this spot is still pretty scary. But if we can win fights and stabilize our board here, we will be really, really happy. And we do win this fight, which is huge. That Vanguard plus Morgana setup really not looking like it's working out too well. But yeah, we're actually surprisingly still haven't hit everything from the fact that we were like completely uncontested, right? Because I don't think anyone actually ended up holding a lot of these units. Yeah, I mean, you scout the entire lobby. I mean, there's a bunch of Silas's up. We don't need to go for Silas 3 here. I'm surprised we actually hit as little as we did there. There's the LW if we want it. Imagine we want to finish out. I mean, a QSS wouldn't be that bad here. Kind of have to roll here for the Zaya too because we are Zaya paired here and really low gold here. We're going to make the LW, I would assume. And then what's the best last item here? Reforges to look for some kind of damage item and then makes guard or TG, makes TG for the Jarvan here. Wow, kind of surprised that we ended up on no last. I was just gonna make like a Quicksilver here just to get some crit, some damage. The attack speed's like okay, but no, he opts for actually the TG onto Jarvan, saying this is pretty good. We do return his Shaco board and take a loss here, 29 HP. I will say this spot is not it's not a high roll spot. You know, for all the people who are like, you know, the Sub-Zero guy VOD reviews all these high rolls, I do think this was just a well-played spot into a solid level 8 board. We're not like for free win streaking to level 9 here. We're just playing good TFT, and hopefully we can get an honest, you know, top 4 out of it in this spot. This lobby is still very scary, so we will see what ends up happening here. He's also almost... Ooh, yeah, this is just a big blunder from him. We have the Leona positioned so that we can avoid the Sejuani ult, but we didn't swap our units over. I think he was kind of like mind gaming and thinking that people would expect him to swap over to the right side, and so that's why he put stuff on the left side. But we get double stunned by the Sejuani there. Now it ends up being okay because we do win that fight anyway, but really scary stuff. I mean, getting a Felio stunned by the Sejuani is like one of the easiest ways to lose fights with this comp. It's so easy. Also, this is kind of cool positioning. He's moving the Silas back a little bit to try to say like any unit that's going to wrap onto, or not Silas, the Rost here. He's moving the Rost back saying, you know, if you put like a Nidalee on my same side and you're trying to get Nidalee to wrap onto me, I'm going to use Rost. I'm going to use this Rost as kind of a bodyguard for my backline. And Rost has a built-in stun. So if I get the stun off on Rost, I can actually like delay your units from actually like completely killing my backline, stuff like the Shaco and the Nidalee there. I imagine we really want Hodge. We can't get it. I mean, I wouldn't even completely mind a red buff here. You could also just go the QSS like we talked about earlier, and yep, ends up on QSS. We have the Sunfire already, so like red buff's not amazing, but it's still attack speed. But I think QSS, yeah, a little bit better. It's got crit chance for this IE, some attack speed. We're actually feeling a need to roll here just because I think YBY1 realizes like this is a strong lobby. I don't think I'm winning out here. I just want to roll, get my Golden Ox proc every round, and just make sure that I'm, you know, living as long as possible, doing as much damage as possible. Just try to salvage what can be, you know, a top 4 in this lobby. Rotate into a pretty strong Vanguard reroll board, though I think we're in the clear. Yep, we are. 3 streak here this stage and 29 HP. And I think, I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but I do think we're in a spot here where we're basically guaranteed to top 4 from here. That is a Shaco 4 from that guy. So that's going to be a little scary. Definitely want to have that Rost bodyguard on the back line for the Shaco, and you can see him positioning around it. Going to swap over. Rost gets swapped to the middle here, which, I mean, is actually pretty decent if Shaco ends up blinking towards another one of our frontliners. But yeah, it's actually so smart versus the Shaco. The idea is Shaco is going to blink forward. I really want us to fight the Shaco player and see Shaco blink forward and then Rost stun them, because it's actually like really subtle but very smart positioning wise. And I think, oh, that guy dropped down to 2. All right, I mean, top 4 not officially locked in, but we're getting to a spot where it's very likely we are going to top 4, and now we're playing for like top 3, top 2 type stuff. I seriously doubt we can win this lobby because we're still level 8 here. It took us a while to get to our units, but hey, this is what TFT is all about. You know, we hit some decent units, we have a decent early game, and we play for win streak, play strongest board, and, you know, try to salvage solid placements here. What do you want here? Like random Vow here? Yeah, I think the Vow makes a lot of sense. He's considering moving the Sunfire down. Yeah, I'm kind of afraid of that. Oh, I mean, I like this, but I also don't love the fact that we actually have to move our Shaco down, or our Rost down. But look at this beautiful Rost positioning for a second, actually. Walked up onto the Zed, and I thought it was going to get the stun off onto the Zed, but we don't. Yeah, this Shaco board. I mean, this guy could... Ooh, I was going to say they could win the lobby. We actually almost won that fight. Uh-oh! And the other... YBY1 looks actually very worried here because the other 2 low people won here. I mean, it would be insane, but we could live in the horrible world here where this is actually a 5th. I mean, he even slams the glove here. We have to position well. We have to make sure we don't get Sedge stunned here versus all of this stuff. I think, yep, make the swap over to here, and we just can't really get Sedge stunned here, except we did move our... We have our Rost here, so the Sedge does end up getting a huge stun. Oh my god. I wonder if we can still win this fight. I mean, it's looking really close. Oh my god, we do. And that must be top 4 locked in. YBY1, after this game, you're an absolute beast, and we locked in a top 4. Very good placement this game for, you know, just a general game. But you gotta work on the anti-Sedge positioning a little bit, buddy. Like, we are allowing ourselves to get Sedge stunned way too many times on this board. But all right, we're gonna swap back here. Yeah, if we put our units on the right side, we can't get Sedge stunned here. So I do think we should just put them right side here. We kind of have Aphelios in the middle here, but we are at least spread out versus the Vagar, which is really, really smart. This guy, oh my god. What happened? We got one tap by Poppy, right? The Poppy actually, I mean, I want to go back here. that's what the Poppy double cast and just sniped out our Aphelios here. I mean, it happens in Vanguard reroll, it happens in Morgana reroll. This Poppy unit is a menace. I mean, yeah, and with four Cyber Boss, it happens. Though it looks like our clone actually won. Oh no, we actually got killed by another Yasuo here, and so it's a top 4 for YBY1. I mean, a very respectable top 4. I think a very nicely played game. I mean, stuff obviously, you know, positioning is hard and impossible to get perfect every single time, but I think just a solid Vanguard Marksman game and showed the power of 80 flex on this patch. You know, everybody else is playing that Xayah, or not the Xayah line, the Misfortune plus the Zeri line, and then you play into this. If vice versa, you go the other way. So great game for YBY1. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, check out my Twitch and Metafy. All the links down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.